Well, great pleasure as always for us to be welcoming one of India's foremost psephologists, election travelers, and our very dear friend Yashwant Deshmukh. Yashwant welcome once again on Squirrels.
Always a pleasure.
So Yashwant bhai, sabse pehle ye bataiye. You know, every time I go on Twitter, people are asking me, please tell us what's happening, please tell us what's happening. So I thought, who better than you to answer that question? So what's happening? 3 phases down, what's happening, Yashwant?
हाँ, बहुत कंफ्यूजन हो रखा है क्योंकि टर्नआउट कम हो गया, इसके ऊपर इतनी ज्यादा बसर मच गई जिसे कहते हैं। सबने रायता फैला दिया अच्छे से कि कम हो गया कम हो गया कम हो गया। एक बार तो हम भी सर पका गए कि यार बड़ा कैलकुलेशन में बड़ी दिक्कत हो जाएगी, बिकॉज यू डू द सर्वेज व्हेन पीपल आर सिटिंग इन देयर ड्राइंग रूम्स एंड देन यू मेक एन असेसमेंट आउट ऑफ दैट। बट I mean, to understand that those who are saying that they will go to vote, they will go to vote. But if they do not go to vote, then of course there are people who have to be taken into consideration. And then you have to take into consideration कि अच्छा ये किसका आदमी नहीं निकला, A का नहीं निकला कि B का नहीं निकला कि दोनों के नहीं निकले। और उससे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि सच में क्या इतना कम हो गया टर्नआउट कि हम लोग अलार्म बजा रहे हैं, हम सबके एंटीने खड़े हो गए। इज इट लाइक दैट? बिकॉज आई अंडरस्टैंड from a pollster's perspective, we get, scared remembering 2004 every time. That's the thing that we always get scared.
But actually, here at Squirrels, we actually did some data extrapolation, and we saw that in seats which went to polls in Bihar and in UP, the first 2 phases in parts of Western UP, the average drop in seats like Aula, Muzaffarnagar, Rampur, Muradabad, the average drop in voter turnout was 5 to 6% in comparison to 2019. Now, both you and I know that these are also Muslim-dominated seats, whether Araria or Muradabad or Rampur. If we say that in a seat where the major constituents are of a particular community, and if there is a drop in voting percentage, what kind of a conclusion do you derive there?
Well, first of all, we have to actually see if that drop in percentage is coming from the majority of that particular seat or minority of that particular seat. I have this theory, Upin, that generally speaking, when the contest is good, then the turnout is also good. When any contest becomes lopsided, then the turnout, we can explain the turnout of a drop in turnout by 2 things. One, the complacency factor among those who think they are going to win in any case, and also disheartening factor among those who think that they are going to lose in any case. So the lopsided contests, are the ones where you tend to see lower turnout. Now, before coming to UP, I will just try to expand this thing because ever since the turnout dropped, the debate has been on the BJP India alliance kind of proposition that everybody is watching the turnout from that lens. While it is beyond north-south, it is beyond Modi Rahul. See, the turnout dropped by 7% in Kerala. BJP is 0 in Kerala.
Right.
If you look at it that way. But as far as Kerala that we understand, Kerala for the last 2 Lok Sabha election has been one-sided. For all practical matter. And that surprise victory of left in the assembly election again is only adding to their problems of anti-incumbency at the state level. And left is not really seen as a huge player the way it used to be in the national level of sort. So for all practical purposes, Kerala is a lopsided contest.
Right. And yet you're saying that there is a drop in percentage.
There is a drop. So whenever there is a idea of a lopsided contest, the turnout is more likely to drop. So, for all practical matters, Gujarat has been a lopsided contest. So we see a drop.
Yashwant, let me add to you, Yashwant. Me and my team have been traveling across different states, and we recently come back from a tour from Amethi to Banaras to Prayagraj to Gorakhpur. The one thing which we saw on the ground this time around, unlike 2019, that frenzy is not there. That frenzy, that excitement about an election. Is that the point you're making when you say that when an election is lopsided, it's almost as if an inevitable outcome is about to be arrived at? So people are losing interest in elections. Is that what's happening on the ground according to you?
I would say rather than losing election, you use the term frenzy. That's the right thing. Frenzy in the sense that, one thing that I go to vote and one thing that I am dancing and going to the vote with all the band. So that frenziness around the voting, that fervor around the voting, that is largely absent because, first of all, 2014 was an anti-incumbency frenziness. 2019 was, in real sense, pro-Modi, pro-incumbency frenziness. Now, 2024 is something which is neither here nor there. All right. Now, when that happens, you go into the local equations, local factors and everything. And then you realize that, okay, wherever the state contests are really nice and really good, tough contests, you are likely to see a relatively better turnout. For example, in West Bengal, हर सीट पे लड़ाई हो रही है, हर सीट पे लड़ाई हो रही है, तो वेस्ट बंगाल का टर्नआउट हेल्दी है, बाकी के कंपैरिजन में बहुत अच्छा टर्नआउट है, तगड़ी लड़ाई हो रही है. नाउ लास्ट टाइम हमारी बात हुई थी तो मैंने बोला था यार चुनाव तो केवल दो ही राज्यों में हो रहे हैं, बंगाल और महाराष्ट्र में, यहाँ पे लड़ाई हो रही है. लेकिन इन कंट्रास्ट टू वेस्ट बंगाल, महाराष्ट्र में टर्नआउट मुक्केबल गिर गया जबकि लड़ाई हो रही है. तो उसका कारण यह है कि अनलाइक वेस्ट बंगाल, महाराष्ट्र में पिछले 2-3 सालों में एवरी वोटर ऑफ एवरी पार्टी इज फीलिंग चीटेड. कोई पार्टी महाराष्ट्र में ऐसी नहीं है जिसने जनादेश का अपमान नहीं किया, जनादेश की धज्जियां नहीं उड़ाई और अपने वोटर को ताक पर रख करके राजनीति नहीं की. जो 2 पोल थे महाराष्ट्र की राजनीति के, जिसके ऊपर दशकों से वहां की पॉलिटिक्स और वहां के मतदाताओं का मन जुड़ा हुआ था, इस कैंप में या उस कैंप में, आपने ऐसी तैसी कर दी पूरी राजनीति की. अब आप उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि वो वोटर उतने ही उत्साह से बाहर निकले. क्यों निकले? क्योंकि उस वोटर को यही नहीं मालूम कि हम वोट डाल के आएंगे तो इस बात की क्या गारंटी है कि आप दोबारा हमारे जनादेश की ऐसी तैसी नहीं करेंगे. भाई, फॉर ऑल प्रैक्टिकल मैटर्स, कम टू थिंक ऑफ इट, why would a BJP voter be excited of voting for Ajit Pawar candidate? Why would Uddhav Thackeray's supporter Bala Saheb, staunch Shiv Sainik, be very, very excited to vote for Congress in order to defeat Narendra Modi, who happens to be
complete chaos. Complete chaos in the state of Maharashtra. Absolutely
complete chaos. Complete chaos. So I don't blame on the drop in turnout.
Let me draw your attention to your state and my state, our state of UP. Tell me what's happening on the ground. Because when we went there, it was almost as if there was silence. There's radio silence on minds of the voters. When the voter is not really willing to express himself or herself, one is of course the credibility of media is at stake hugely in this election. But how does one try to read the mind of a setup which is not willing to speak up?
Well, that's a very difficult thing to do. Reason being that, number one, a chunk of them actually do not speak up. Like, whenever, and particularly in the areas where you have a tendency of communal violence flaring up.
Right.
People go silent, radio silence. I mean, by the way, the biggest radio silence in terms of response in the last 6 months we have observed in West Bengal. Almost 20% non-response. That's a huge headache for any pollster. अनलाइक यूपी में एक्चुअली क्या है, एक मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा कि साइलेंट है, अनमना है. अनमना से इन अ सेंस है, इट्स नॉट दैट एसपी वोटर इज स्विंगिंग टू बीजेपी वोटर इज स्विंगिंग टू एसपी. दैट्स अनलाइकली टू हैपन. व्हाट विल हैपन इज दैट देयर वुड बी अ वेरिएशन इन रिलेटिव टर्नआउट बिटवीन द टू कैंप्स. जहां पे भी उनको लगेगा अपोजिशन को कि हमारा कैंडिडेट अच्छा है और हम जीतने की स्थिति में, उन लोकसभा सीटों पे आप पाएंगे कि अपोजिशन का रिलेटिव टर्नआउट अच्छा है एंड द ओवरऑल टर्नआउट वुड बी नॉट दैट बैड. बट जहां पर भी अपोजिशन के वोट लगेगा कि यार ये सीटें तो ऐसी है जहां पे लंबे से ये जीत रहे हैं, फॉर दैट मैटर बीजेपी के वोटर्स को भी कुछ सीटों पर ऐसा लगेगा कि यार ये सीट तो इनका गढ़ है. ऑल सेड एंड डन, अपना यहाँ पे गेम नहीं है. ऐसी भी सीटें हैं बाय द वे, मतलब लोगों को ये गलतफहमी ना हो कि नहीं है. हमारा जो लास्ट एमओटीएन आया था उसमें हमने यूपी में ऑलमोस्ट 20 सीटें बोली थी जहां पे बहुत तगड़ा गेम है, तगड़ा कंटेस्ट होने वाला है. एंड इफ यू लुक इनटू दोस सीट्स यू रियलाइज दैट देयर टर्नआउट इज नॉट दैट बैड. Relatively speaking, the drop in the turnout is more on the seats again which are preconceived or pre-perceived as as a seat going to this way or that way.
How do you read Mayawati, Yashwant ji? How do you read Mayawati? What is Mayawati up to this election? कभी वो अपने भतीजे को घर बिठा देती हैं, कभी वो अपना कैंडिडेट चेंज कर देती हैं, हो क्या रहा है हाथी कैंप में?
I think she is just trying to survive this election. When I say survive, see, in the last biggest Mahagathbandhan experiment of Uttar Pradesh in 2019, she was the biggest beneficiary. We all know that. 10 सीट जीत के लेकर गई लोकसभा की.
27 सीट पे, she was number 2 on 27 seats I saw.
Number 2,
by
yeah,
some
exactly.
margins.
Exactly. And all said and done, it is also a known fact that Sapa and the Muslim vote transferred to Mayawati's candidate, but Mayawati's non-Jatav Dalit did not really transfer to Samajwadi Party candidate.
Right.
So that is where, you know, it became a kind of a non-dysfunctional alliance, because Sapa got the, SP got the raw deal. I mean, to be honest, to be fair to Akhilesh, he got a raw deal in that sense. So Akhilesh is more excited right now simply because in the last assembly election, he was successful in making UP bipolar largely, where Mayawati and Congress were just out of the equation. And he gained a lot from the polarization of the anti-BJP votes. He is expecting that to continue further. That's the reason he allied with the Congress, because we have seen some split vote in UP, in Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha for the Congress, because many voters in UP who are anti-BJP, they feel Congress is the national alternative, so let's check.
But my point is, Mayawati, Yashwant ji, when you say that she's trying to survive this election, who would stand to benefit? Let's look at Jaunpur, for instance. She changes her candidate to a Yadav community candidate who's been a former MP also. She decides to drop her own nephew from the post of party coordinator. If she plays it easy, if she goes under the table, who stands to benefit accordingly?
Well, whatever she is doing right now clearly indicates that it is largely probably going to end up benefiting the BJP. Honestly speaking, Jaunpur की सीट फंस गई थी for all practical matters. You know, आपने एक ठाकुर को कैंडिडेट, उसकी पत्नी को, वो भी एक तगड़े बंदे की पत्नी को टिकट दिया. ठाकुर वोट अगर काट ले जाती वो तो बीजेपी का कैंडिडेट के लिए दिक्कत होती. अब आपने उसको हटा करके यादव कैंडिडेट दिया. यादव कैंडिडेट और मुसलमान कैंडिडेट किसका वोट काटेगा, इसको कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है समझना. So whatever the number of Yadav candidate and Muslim candidate that Mayawati is fielding, it is basically in order to, I will not say in order to help BJP, but it will end up helping BJP. Whether it is a kind of, if that's the strategy or not, because everybody is saying, yaar inka to aapas mein kuch na kuch mila hua.
So lastly then, Yashwant ji, after 3 phases, typically, you know, 3 phases is a good time for us to look at an election. That is it in the direction of being decisively settled, or is the election still opening up? What would you say on that? Is it opening up or is it being decisively settled now?
No, in many states, I feel that will be more or less looking at the turnout like okay, अब ये तो मामला एक तरफ हो सकता है चला जाए, लेकिन there are states which are going to be very keenly contested. Bengal, Maharashtra, Bihar, Karnataka, for that matter, they're very, very keen contest which is going on. And this is why all the states, see, the battleground states are the one which have been kind of split into 5 to 7 phases. Only 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 seats at one point of time. So that's how the campaign is being spread out as well. और वो रीजन से चल रहा है, मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं कि मिक्स एंड मैच हो रहा है. बंगाल में पहले नॉर्थ बंगाल पहले हो गया, फिर वहां से साउथ की हो रहा है. यूपी में वेस्ट हो गया, वहां से ईस्ट की हो जा रहा है. So there is a pattern to the way the seats going, and the contest is being also played out at the regional level.
Right.
So, but the turnout thing, there is no historical perspective to that कि ये बढ़ गया इसलिए ऐसा होगा या घट गया है तो
स्टॉक मार्केट के टर्म्स में अगर आपसे पूछूं कि मार्केट का जो हमने देखा है रुख कि लगातार वो बढ़ती चली जा रही थी, 4 जून के बाद भी वो बढ़ने की संभावना है कि कहीं कुछ और आप देख रहे हैं उसमें?
अब ये तो पता नहीं, क्योंकि मुंह से अगर कुछ निकल गया तो कल लुढ़कने की या बढ़ने की भी संभावना हो सकती है, इसलिए उस पर बहुत ध्यान देना होगा. लेकिन इतना जरूर है कि पहले फेज में करीबन 4% गिरा टर्नआउट, दूसरे फेज में 3, तीसरे फेज में 2% के आसपास। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि पहले फेज जो था, actually it took everybody by surprise, first phase. Whatever the reasons, left, right, and center, good, bad, and ugly, you know. I think in the second phase, everybody tried that, you know, because even the Congress realized that कि केरला में अगर turnout गिर गया तो maybe it is not that good for themselves. अगर तमिलनाडु में गिर गया, it's not good for the opposition. So the drop of the turnout, as I said, everybody is so over focused and over obsessed with analyzing the thing from the BJP's perspective. The fact is that the drop of the turnout is as secular and as evident even in the opposition, strong opposition states. So I think in the second round, everybody was like कि नहीं, ये गड़बड़ है. So everybody has kind of gone back and to the drawing board. जो भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को टाइट करना है वो किया है. तीसरा फेज लगभग बराबरी पे आया है. एंड अभी मुझे चिंता ये है कि यहां से गर्मी और बढ़ने वाली है. तो अगले 4 फेज गर्मी के बावजूद भी अगर ओवरऑल ड्रॉप आपका 4-5% से नीचे रहता है तो ये भूपेंद्र बहुत ज्यादा परेशानी का मंजर किसी के लिए भी नहीं मानना चाहिए. बिकॉज 2004, प्लीज रिमेंबर, why we fear 2004 is that in 2004 across urban India there was a drop of 18% in turnout. 18 across urban India. Now that is something which throws the equations out of the window. So far we have not seen any deviation of drop in urban and rural India. Number one, we have not seen any contrast of urban opposition ruled state and BJP ruled state. So far it looks like the drop, the reasons for the drop are pretty uniform, singular, and in a randomly spread manner.
So you are pointing us in the direction. You're pointing us in that direction that come 4th of May, let's not expect some major surprise, at least as of now, at least by the end of the third.
At least not at the cost of the turnout. Not at the cost of turnout.
All right. Always a pleasure speaking to you, Yashwant. Thank you so much for joining us.